Hello, everybody. I'm hoping you can all hear me. Um, Thank you for everyone for joining today. My name is Helen Robinson. I am the Diversity Inclusion and Community Engagement Manager at Auto Trader. And I feel very honoured to be asked to moderate this storytelling session as part of the Women's Summit, where we are joined by Abna Abdullatif, Shaista Aziz, and Huda Jawad, three campaigners, activists, and doers, also known as the three Hijabis, where today they're going to share the story of the three Hijabis and how the movement came about, why they wanted to be part of today's event, and what's next for themselves and the movement. So with that in mind, I guess I will hand over to yourselves, if that's okay, if you want to do a little bit of an introduction or a better introduction of yourselves and the movement itself, how that came about. So yeah, I'll hand over to yourselves, if that's okay.
Thanks so much, Helen, and thanks so much, everyone, for having us. We thought it might be good to start off with just brief introductions from each of us, and then to kind of share the story of the three Hijabis and how that came about. So my name is Amna, obviously one of the three Hijabis that we will be sharing here today, but I also carry many other hats. I've worked in the charity sector for the past 15 or so years, predominantly on women's rights issues, so working at Women's Aid around prevention work and healthy relationships, as well as domestic violence. Then moved on to more education around equalities related issues with young people, and then currently moved into anti-racism work within Rape Crisis England and Wales, so still maintaining kind of that issues around women's rights, particularly. And on top of that, I'm also an elected politician. I represent a ward in central Manchester called Ardwick. So that's my brief introduction, and I'll allow Shaista and Huda to do theirs before we start the story.
Hi, everyone. I just want to start by, first of all, thanking you, everybody involved, for hosting us, and also to wish everyone happy International Women's Day. As far as I'm concerned, it should be International Women's Day every day of the week. But anyway, my name is Shaista Aziz. I'm joining you from Oxford. I'm a journalist and writer, and I'm a disruptor, a proud activist. I'm a national anti-racism and equalities campaigner, and I've also worked in the field of women's rights for a number of years. My background is I spent 20 years working as an international aid worker, so I've had the immense pleasure and privilege of working across the world. Primarily, I was working with people escaping war, famine, conflict, and obviously the ongoing and unfolding climate crisis that we are seeing more clearly now. And the vast majority of people I've been working with, because of the nature of the things I've talked about, are women and girls. So I've been very, very fortunate to experience lots of people's stories, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to, be part of that. Like Amna, I'm also an elected official here in Oxford. I'm Oxford City Council's cabinet member for inclusive communities and culture. It's a really broad remit, and there's a lot of things going on and a lot of challenges that people are facing, as we know, with the cost of living crisis and many other things. But it's a real honor to be able to try and work and help the people of my city, the city I was born and raised in. And I'm also one of the three Hijabis. So I'll pass over to Huda now.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Huda Jawad. I've been working in the area of violence against women and girls for over 11 years. I've also been working in anti-racism and equalities campaigning, conflict resolution and international relations and politics. Since I graduated in 2003, a long time ago. So I live in Wembley. I am part of the three Hijabis. I'm a mother to two boys. And I'm also known in my kind of social media hashtags and things are the intersectional Muslim feminist. So you can find me on muslimfeminist.co.uk. But also you can find us on the 3hijabis.com. So looking forward to the conversation.
So I thought we would just kind of start the story, and we'll be kind of taking it in stages, just so everyone can kind of get a glimpse into kind of what happened and how we achieved what we did in such a short space of time. So essentially, post-COVID lockdown, when things started opening up and easing up, and suddenly we were actually allowed to go and see people. I'd not seen Shyster and Huda for since before the pandemic, and we decided that we would go and meet up in London, and have just catch up, have a meal, and it just happened that actually it was the night of the quarterfinals of the Euros at the time, the men's Euros, and Shyster insisted that we needed to find somewhere to watch the quarterfinal game, which was against Ukraine. And I kind of buzzed around London for a bit. When I got there, I was staying in a hotel quite centrally, and managed to convince the guys at the hotel to give us a decent seat so we can actually watch the game at their bar. And it meant that we could have a meal as well, and have a drink, and so forth. Anyway, we ended up watching the game. England beat Ukraine 4-0. It was a great match. Shyster then proceeded to post a picture of the three of us talking about that particular game and the importance and the shift in terms of how Gareth Southgate's team felt to us as women who are minoritized, who felt always kind of a bit excluded from football and the game, and how many people of color have often felt excluded from football, but particularly women. And so she wrote this tweet thread about this, and it went viral. It went insane. I was a bit confused as to as to how that happened, but it went viral. And she was then asked to write a piece about that particular tweet and the information in that tweet for, I think it was The Guardian, wasn't it, Shyster? And that article went viral. And suddenly we kept getting contacted by various media asking us about our views about upcoming games as well. So the semi-final and the final. And we were like, bloody hell, becoming now experts or commentators on the game. My mum found this hilarious. She's a massive football fan, a huge Liverpool fan. So apologies to any Man United fans in the house. She was very happy over the last week. 7 up. Anyway, so she thought it was hilarious because even though football had been a big part of my family's life, particularly through my mum, I'd never really shown that much interest in a particular game. Normally major tournaments like the Euros and the World Cups, etc., but not necessarily a team as such. So we were suddenly on TV and radio talking about and giving our opinions and two pennies worth about the upcoming games. And it was at that point that we realized that we had this platform through what the tweet kind of generated or said was that it was a play on words of the three lions beating, or the three hijabis watching the three lions thrash Ukraine or something along those lines. And so this play on words of the three hijabis really caught on. People seemed to really relate to that. And so we became known as the three hijabis from that moment. But I think the thing that really shifted in terms of how we then got into campaigning around anti-racism in the game came in that final game between England and Italy. And we were really proud actually of how far the England team had taken us in that tournament. Something that we didn't imagine at the beginning, and I don't think many people imagined that the England team would get as far as it did. And so, for us, it was a proud moment to sit there and watch it together. We were all at Huda's house in Wembley, kind of trying to soak in some of the atmosphere and watching the game. But I think at that moment, at that final whistle, when England lost in penalties, we knew that there was going to be issues, and that the players that had missed the penalties, which were 3 black players, would be racially attacked. And that, I think all of us, we sat at that end of that game talking about that. And, I remember Huda's children as well, her 2 boys, also commenting about what that would mean for them the next day in school. I think at that point we decided that we needed to do something, that we needed to respond, that this platform that had been created through this tweet going viral and this article going viral, we had to do something. And that's when the next morning we decided to launch the petition to essentially ban racists from football. And I'll allow Shaista to kind of carry on the story of what happened after that point, because I think this is where things just started to spiral out of control a little bit in that morning after that final Euros game.
Yeah, sorry about my coughing, everyone. I have long COVID, and every now and then my coughing kicks in, so apologies for that. Yeah, thank you, Amna, for explaining all of that so clearly. So the 3 hijabis, one of the reasons why we know that this campaign work has really taken off is because we offered people hope. There was a very grim situation going on where 3 young Black football players are being racially abused even before the final whistle. This was going on. And also the context of the toxicity in the country, the political toxicity. There was a lot of stuff going on around taking the knee. There was a lot of public debate going on, a lot of misunderstanding of what taking the knee means. So all of this was kind of the wider dynamics of it all. And when we were watching that game, obviously we were really excited when England first scored within the first couple of minutes of the match, which is highly unusual, as we know, as England fans, but nonetheless. And then our hearts started sinking. And after the game finished, obviously we were very, very distraught, but we were more distraught by the fact that the 3 players were getting the abuse and the levels of racism that was taking place. And just as the final whistle was being blown, my cousin sent me a text message. She lives in Oxfordshire, and she said the neighbours are using the N-word and they're shouting, and I've just got the kids back in and I've closed the windows, and I've also told the neighbours that I do not want to hear this and they need to stop. And she said, I'm shaking as I write this to you. I remember that very vividly. And so, like I said, and like Amna said, we understood that this is horrific and we cannot allow this to happen. So basically we talked about it a bit, and then we all went to bed. We were obviously heartbroken. And about 5 a.m. I started drafting the text to the petition. And we were all staying over with Huda, and basically I was waiting for everyone to wake up. Amna and Huda find me annoying for many reasons, and one of them is that I'm an early bird. I like to be up and about early. So these guys were still asleep, so I was waiting for them to wake up. And to be fair, Huda, you're fairly early bird as well, so you were up getting the boys ready. So we waited for Amna to get up, and then we just knocked on her door and said, Amna, you need to come out. We're making some tea and we need to discuss something with you. So Amna came out, and we talked about the events of the night before. Obviously, we were getting an update via Twitter and via all the media headlines and all the rest of it. So, I said, sisters, what do we think about putting a petition together? And immediately both of them were like, yes, we need to do this. So we tweaked the draft. We checked it. We made sure it looked the way we wanted it to look. We made sure our message was very clear. We have to be honest with everybody here and say that we were also extremely mindful that we could also be subjected to racist abuse as 3 minoritized Muslim women who wear the headscarf. Women who look like us are not really known for occupying space generally in the media on our own terms to tell our stories, but specifically around football. So we had that conversation as well. We discussed what this could mean for us. We discussed the fact that we could be trolled. Individually, we've been racially abused online, and we've had misogynistic commentary as women in the public space. So it was inevitable. It would happen. It was just a question of making sure that we were all really ready for it as much as you can be. So we had that discussion as well. And then the 3 of us decided that this was the right thing for us to do. And we also, as Huda says, intersectionality is a big part of our values as women, as human beings, and also in terms of the work we do. And we also thought it was very, very important for 3 women who look like us to be standing up for 3 young Black men. We really felt that responsibility in a positive sense of the word. So we put the petition out, and then we decided to go to Wembley to go and get breakfast. And as Huda says, Huda lives down the road from Wembley Stadium, and you've never been there until we went to collectively together, which is I know that's Huda can explain a bit about that as well. So we got to Wembley and we were absolutely horrified by the state of the roads and the streets. Litter was everywhere. The vast majority of people cleaning up were people of color, the cleaners, and the juxtaposition between all the mess and all the disgusting residue of the night before, and obviously the fact this has become a global news story now about the racism, and the black and the people of color cleaning up, and then the people on the platforms, the international journalists who were doing their news coverage with the Wembley Arch behind them, were overwhelmingly looked white. And that itself was a story about power and about the dynamics of what had also happened the night before. So that wasn't lost on us. So as we ordered our breakfast, we got a phone call, and my phone rang, and it was a journalist saying, we've just seen your petition and we'd really like to talk to you. So I did an interview. This is about 9:35, I think it was. I did the first interview, and by the time we finished breakfast, which wasn't that, about an hour later, the phone was ringing off the hook. And it did not stop ringing, and we did not stop talking to the media for a good week, and the petition just took off. And I will hand over to Huda in a moment, but I think the key to our campaign work was we decided that football does not belong to the racists. The England team does not belong to the racists. The England team belongs to all of us who support them and who believe in them and believe in their anti-racist values. We were very proud, and we still are, of the fact that they were very unapologetic about their support of equalities, be it for the LGBTQI community, and the fact that they were proudly anti-racist. We felt really proud of them, and we knew that we needed to do something to support them. So we offered an alternative narrative, a more truthful narrative of what football is and what it should be and what it could be as well. So our story was really about us saying football does not belong to the racists, it belongs to all of us. The England team belongs to all of us. And frankly, we're not having this. We're not having it. These are our heroes. They are the lions that we support and who've brought the country together, united the country in very challenging times, and stood up against a whole barrage of abuse that they've faced. And we want to stand up for them. And we feel really proud of the fact that we changed that narrative. And we think this is key to campaigning. And the final thing I'll say before I hand over to Huda is one of the most poignant things for me was a school teacher contacting us very early on when the petition went live in the morning. And she said, "Thank goodness for you three, because I did not know what to do when I go into the school." And I've got goosebumps telling you this. She said, I was devastated, and I just thought, I don't know what to do this morning. I don't know how to deal with this. And now you've given me a focus, and I'm going into school, and I will be sharing this petition, and we are going to talk about this. We're going to talk about what we can do when things like this happen as people, what happens when good people stay silent. That is going to be the focus of my teaching today. So thank you. And on that note, Huda, I'm going to pass over to you.
Thanks, Shaista. There's really, the rest is history. We were very clear that within 2 days, 48 hours, we had 1.2 million people sign. I think people were extremely kind of surprised at this kind of the pundits and the professionals. So were surprised at the groundswell and the fact that people, 3 women who don't usually see on your televisions or on your screens doing something very positive and empowering, who look like us, are leading and creating a way for 1.2 million people to say no to racism and in football, and something must be done about it. Whilst the petition was signed by 1.2 million people and counting, I think over 11 million saw it. So it kind of spread really, really widely. And we're very proud of the fact that we've created space for everybody. And that led us to kind of saying, well, people now want something to be done. And so we addressed the authorities and the people with power to say, you must do something about it. You can't just kind of brush this under the carpet and say, oh, it's a few bad apples, when it's in fact a bad orchard. And so that something must be done. And we kept on pushing. and making space for everyone and asking everyone to join us, rather than see this as an opportunity to kind of center our views and just really kind of create a space for positivity and action. And I think that's the heart of our campaign. So if you have any questions, Helen, I'm very happy to kind of open it up.
Yeah, I just wanted to just quickly jump in very briefly and say, once the petition got to 1 million, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the time, mentioned our campaign in Parliament and said that they were interested, he wanted to work on basically what we were calling for, which was, calling on tech companies, the powerful, overwhelmingly men who run football, white men, I should say, to work together to tackle this racism. And the other thing that we've been working on as 3 Hijabis, along with End Violence Against Women and Girls Coalition and also Level Up, is we successfully campaigned to get the Premier League to implement consent training last year. We feel extremely proud of this. This has come about because women have come together to work together. And I just want to say, for everyone listening here, that it's been so joyful as well. So we've been dealing with very challenging and difficult things that, are triggering for us as 3 women who have all experienced racism and continue to, sadly, and have at times felt very unsafe in our country, when we shouldn't feel unsafe. But it's also been very joyful. There's been huge wins and lots of fun, lots of laughter. And it's been an absolute honor to work with Amna and Huda, and it's not always that you get to meet and work with such principled women. And I think the biggest thing for me as a campaigner is we've always had each other's back, and at no point has anyone tried to steal the limelight, because as Huda says, this is not about us as 3 individuals. Yes, we have every right to shine. Yes, we have every right to take credit for our work, and we do. But we've been clear from the very beginning that this is not about 3 women. This is about 1.2 million people and counting. And I think that the message here is that if we want to make change, we have to make it as a collective. You can't do things by yourself, right? And I would have felt terrified doing this by myself. But the fact that Amna and Huda were with me and we were with each other, this is how we made change.
Thank you so much. And I guess a question for myself. You created this incredible campaign, and I guess why do you find that it's important to be part of events like the event today? It would be interesting to get your thoughts on that.
I think what we really are keen to kind of make everybody aware of is that actually we need to kind of get up and do something, that everyone has the potential to change and create a positive difference in society, however tiny you may feel your action is. We thought, honestly, that our petition, if we were lucky, would have 5,000 people sign it. But it's so important that we kind of see something, feel passionate about, and we do something about it, rather than assuming somebody else will do something because this is terrible. And it's been so inspiring watching and hearing the current personalities and sports personalities kind of talk about our recent political kind of class doing some really terrible things, and it's only the power of sport to change and speak for the people has been really, really important. And so taking space in this forum, coming together to discuss issues that matter to us and finding ways that we could work together, like Shaista says, has been really, really important. And that's certainly one of the issues that we're really passionate about. I know that Amna wants to add something, so I'll let you speak, Amna.
Yeah, I think that there's an importance in we've done a lot of events over the last few years, and it's always an honor and a privilege to kind of come into spaces that we don't normally occupy to talk about what we've managed to do. But I think the importance of it is essentially in terms of the amplification of the work that we're doing. And we really encourage you all to follow us. We are on Twitter. We do have a website. website. It would be great for you to share some of the work that we've been doing. This, you know, I think some of the things that we started off doing around the anti-racism work and the work around misogyny in the game, this isn't work, you know, just because we've won some of the things that we've asked for have happened, it does not mean that the campaign is over. And I think far too often people are constantly looking for new campaigns, new things to follow, new things to do. And actually what we've committed to is the things that we've asked for, and we will keep going on those things until they get done. I think somebody called us stubborn at some point of the work. Stubborn women get things done, and that's the way that we're working at the moment. And you know, we're not trying to make it look fancy. We're not trying to change the way that we do things. We've asked for certain things. We don't think that they've all been achieved. We want to continue that work, and the support that we can gain from all of these new platforms that we are in are really useful. So if you're able to help us, get in touch with us. We would love to hear from you. And yeah, I think that amplification, particularly of voices that don't get heard. I think lots of people were really, you know, I think one producer, me and Shyster, did an interview, and he was like, "Oh, you speak so eloquently," and I'm like, oh God, here we go. You know, the speaking so eloquently is something that I've heard throughout my life, which I always used to think was a compliment, but essentially it's telling me that, you know, that's not what they expected. They didn't expect somebody who could speak well and who could speak eloquently because of the way that I looked. And we need to shift those. We need to shift those narratives. We need to be seeing many more women who aren't represented in these spaces being seen, being heard, being listened to, and other people coming on board and supporting and amplifying the work that we're doing and others are doing.
Thank you so much. We do have one question which I've seen coming through the chat, which might take us to 1:15. It says, this is from Catherine Welsh. I'm curious about your solidarity and support to each other. Can you talk a little bit more about how being a three perhaps enabled you to take on a campaign like this in a way that maybe would have been less possible for any of you as individuals? I know you briefly touched upon this, Shyster, but I don't know if you wanted to.
Yeah, great question. So I think we're here talking about football, right, and solidarity. So we're a squad, okay? We can, you know, I always say this, and the sisters always laugh, but I'm like, even Mo Salah needs a football team, right? Perhaps Manchester United might want to buy him, but I won't go into that right now. But, you know, we can't all be superstars. And even if you are a superstar, you need a team. A superstar cannot function without a team. And, you know, the fact that we have immense love and respect for each other, and everyone can see that. This is not a gimmick, right? You can't make this type of thing up, right? And that's the feedback we've also received a lot, particularly from media professionals. So in these very challenging and difficult times where, you know, sadly, there's not a lot of nuance and people are busy shouting and screaming at each other, we have to find ways and build strategies to protect ourselves when we're doing this work, but also to work out how to get people to listen. And, you know, the storytelling is so powerful. It's how we all relate to each other as human beings. And as human beings, it takes 7 seconds for us to all form an opinion of each other without even hearing each other. So, you know, we've got our work cut out. But, you know, I think the solidarity and the sisterhood of the three hijabis is very much as part of the story as the petition is. And what we've shown is the petition, we're not one-hit wonders. The petition is a really important thing, and it's actually a historical thing. As you said, Huda, it's all history, it's there, right? But it goes way beyond that. And I'll pass on to Huda, but I just want to read this really quick quote out. Everyone, the sisters know I love a good quote. The quote is from Maya Angelou, who said, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better." And that's the story of the three hijabis. We gave people an opportunity to do better. We're like, there's no point us all being heartbroken and devastated. It's heartbreaking and devastating, okay? However, what are we going to do? Let's do better.
Thank you. Absolutely. And shout out to Catherine. You're amazing, my Claw tribe. And this is it. We all have different amazing skill sets that when we bring together has created this powerful force. And I think we, you know, both the sisters know there have been moments when I have had doubts and I was kind of keep asking questions and thinking, are we doing the right thing? Are we, you know, is this the right direction? Do we need to be heading? all of that. And that has been a really important part of the journey, is that space to kind of talk about our insecurities, our what if scenarios, and just to understand that because this has been a very new journey for me in terms of like working on this issue and having such huge public exposure, it has been absolutely essential to have the support of my two sisters to do this, because without them, I don't think we would have achieved the level of kind of love and the solidarity that we mirrored, the solidarity that we were trying to bring about between us, to each other, and for the 1.2 million people that are coming along with us.
I will just say briefly, I know we're running out of time a little bit, but just in response to Catherine's question, is that it goes beyond just the three of us. There was lots of other people in the background who supported us, lots of other great women and men who were helping us out with, the media, particularly because we were bombarded for weeks on end and still are. And they are the ones amplifying our voice, telling our story, getting those media requests, getting us on primetime TV. But also helping us with kind of the messaging and how we delivered that, and lots of people who are helping us with strategy and thinking about that space, and people that we can go to for questions. So it wasn't just about us; it was also about us, kind of pulling from our networks to seek that additional support when and where we needed, and those people really came forward for us, and that's something that we've really appreciated. But these, I think I was similar to Huda. I was like, oh my god, I've never had this much exposure kind of to the media before, and this level of interest, and it was like, well, how did we end up here? And Shaista constantly reminding me that we all come with a huge amount of lifetime experience of doing this work. It's come together at this time in this particular way with the three of us at the right time. But it doesn't mean that just because it's new, that it's not come from our skill sets, our experience, our past, our networks, our everything that we've built up over the last 10, 15, 20 years of our lives has come to this particular piece of work. And I think that's what we've tried to bring to it, and we've brought other people along with us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Amna, Huda and Shaista. I think that's it. We are 2 minutes over, I think, but I'm sure no one will be bothered about that at all. Thank you again for sharing your inspiring campaign. I'm sure everyone will have really appreciated you being on today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
Loved it. Thank you.